Initial takeaway from you, anything that kind of stood out the most?
Well, I talked about it a little bit yesterday, them being +9 in the non-shade minutes, and then, in the second half, we just got blitzed, 32-14, 7 turnovers. They shot 14 free throws during that stretch. So we'll look at lineups, we'll look at everything, try to figure out how we can be better in those minutes.
You said you expected Austin to have a bounce back. What did you see from him tonight?
I thought he did a good job, touching the paint, and, those touch shots were there tonight. Got some good looks from three. He played a solid game. Obviously, he had 5 turnovers, but everybody on our team had turnovers. You can start seeing like some trends here, and we probably need to go back to the 2 keys we had against Houston, which is take care of the ball and box out, because it's not on high volume, but they've killed us in both games. Every time they've gotten an offensive rebound, they've scored.
JJ, you got a technical in the first half. Multiple players had really long, extended conversations with refs. What was sort of at the core of those frustrations tonight?
Yeah, I sarcastically said the other day they were the most disruptive team without fouling. They have a few guys that foul on every possession, and all the good defenses do. SGA gets like I don't even know, a touch foul, I guess, on the drive. There was a stretch where 4 straight possessions, our guys got absolutely clobbered trying to make an entry pass to Jackson, and Jalen Williams is grabbing his jersey with both arms. That's a turn. They're hard enough to play. They're hard enough to play. You've got to be able to just call it if they foul, and they do foul.
Along those lines, LeBron has, I think, taken 5 free throws here in 2 games. What have you seen him be like attacking and downhill? And are you surprised he hasn't been able to get to the line more?
Well, he gets clobbered on that one. With Jalen Williams coming over trying to block the shot when he spun baseline on Dort. That was in that stretch as well. LeBron has the worst whistle of any star player I've ever seen. I've been with him 2 years now. There's, again, the smaller guys, because they can be theatric, they typically draw more fouls, and the bigger players that are built like LeBron, it's hard for them. But he gets clobbered, and he got clobbered again tonight a bunch. But that's not like a new thing. That's not specific to this crew or this series. He gets fouled a lot. That doesn't happen. Guy gets hit on the head more than any player I've seen on drives, and it rarely gets called. So,
do you think composure was a factor at all, or do you think because of the kind of the blatant things you're talking about, there's no other way to react than to point out?
Oh, no. But our guys were so good tonight, just staying together and poised. That's the emotion's part of basketball, and I think some of the reason they're officiated the way they are is because they don't show emotion, and that's a credit to them. They've really taken the emotion out of the game. They're super tight knit. They don't complain to the officials, and they, maybe they're the beneficiaries of that. I don't know.
JJ, yesterday you were talking about the non-SGA minutes, how you had to win those minutes or be even. First half you won them, and then he goes out with that 4th foul, 10:53 left in the 3rd quarter, and then I think it was -18 for you guys with SGA not on the floor. I know the refs part of that, but what do you attribute that to?
I'm just letting you know how the game was officiated. It's not that we didn't lose because of the refs. That's never the case. You don't lose because of refs. You lose because the other team outplays you. Oklahoma City outplays.
I think in that stretch I'm talking about.
And a lot of them were fouls. A lot of them were fouls. But again, we're not putting 2 on the ball in that stretch, and so we've just got to be better, and we'll look how we can be better on both ends.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, you can hear some of the frustration from J.J. Redick. It's 2 games in a row now where we get that press conference and you can see there's disappointment. There's what are we going to do? You guys tell me, what's the answer here? Because one of you guys mentioned like, hey, maybe we're. I think it was you, Coach, who said, hey, maybe we're talking about a sweep here. Series just goes back to last.
You want me to find an answer for the Lakers against Oklahoma City?
Yeah, and then JJ will give you a call. You'll end up on the staff there.
This is my chance.
So yeah,
right?
let's go.
I think the reason you see JJ talking about the things he's talking about up there, because truly, what is the answer for the Lakers at this point? They play, they shot the ball very well tonight. As you said, Austin Reeves had a great game tonight, and they still came up short against this Oklahoma City team.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City they're tough to officiate on both ends because every play defensively they're reaching, they're pressuring You know, they're always being aggressive.
What do you call?
You can call a foul every time down the court. You know, if you're in that position as a ref, and then on the offensive end, you know, I know people complain about it, but Shea has a knack for drawing fouls, and you can say he's flopping or whatever. Until the refs stop calling it, he's getting to the line, right? It was like James Harden a few years back, you know, with all of that stuff. And so, you know, at the end of the day, they're winning that battle when it comes to the game being played within the game.
All right. Well, one coach, and that's JJ Redick, not exactly thrilled. We got another one who should be in a better mood.
You wouldn't know it. Not with Dag, no.
Mark, we talked so much about the intentionality of being adaptable and how these games never look alike. What'd you make of the way your team just reacted to the circumstances of Shea being in foul trouble tonight?
Not only that, I just thought LA's physicality in the first half, I thought they were the aggressor, especially their offense against our defense. And so we had to kind of endure their punch in the first half. They obviously took a lead. In the third, Shea had 4. And so it's just kind of an unpredictable game, you know, and like I said, after game 1, no 2 games are alike. So we did a great job of just staying present, winning the next battle in front of us, sticking together. We got contributions from everybody. It was great.
Mark, what did you see from AJ specifically in that stretch?
I mean, he was outstanding in the first half. You know, got his scoring going. Didn't make his threes, but you know, made everything else pretty much in the first half. And great floor game. He gave us great tempo when Shea was getting denied and when Shea was off the floor, and just, you know, continued poise and confidence out of him in these big games.
And I have to ask because it felt like the second half sort of dissolved into these teams versus the crew. I don't know. I mean, I won't ask you about the quality of the officiating, but what role did you seem to feel like the officiating played by the end of the game?
I mean, my interactions with the officials between me and them, you know, I had plenty to say to them, but I'm going to keep it there. And I thought our team did a really good job of staying present and just focusing on the next controllable. And we just played it possession by possession.
Yeah, Mark, just talk about that group right after Shea gets goes to the bench and after the flagrant, just the way they were able to grab control of the game.
Yeah, you know, it's just great confidence by the team and togetherness. We strung together stops, played with great pace off those stops. Guys stepped in and made confident plays up and down. You know, it started with the group when Kaysen went in for him, the starting group plus Kaysen, and then every sub we rolled in there, you know, did the same thing and really built a nice lead. You know, I probably would have gone back to him in the third. I was planning on doing that in my head, but we played so well. I just kept riding it. It got him fresh, allowed him to play the whole fourth. It was a great team win.
And I feel like a lot of guys, young guys in Jared McCain's role would be a little timid. He comes out there and there's no fear in anything, not scared to make a mistake. Just talk about his mentality in those type of situations.
Yeah, I mean, he's ironclad, you know, as we've talked about. You know, he goes in there, stays in character, stays aggressive. You know, he's going to shoot the next shot. He makes the right plays. He plays inside the team. He competes defensively. He has had good defensive possessions for us. And he was huge tonight. And you need that in a playoff series. You know, there's a lot of basketball. And you're going to need everybody. We trust everybody. He was big again tonight.
Mark, to build on that sequence there, to have guys that are facing, you know, the Lakers are kind of rolling. They seem like they're maybe trying to, you know, inflict some damage with Shea on the bench. To have guys out there that maybe you don't expect to sort of turn the tide. Where do you sort of think this team gets that from?
Well, other people might not expect it, but I do. You know, I've got those great fortitude there.
Seems like one of the things that Hart does so well is he's in the right spots at the right times, whether it's for a rebound, contesting a shot, finding a gap in the defense. And can you kind of just speak to how much of a strength that is for him and just his overall basketball IQ?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a really complete player at that position. You know, there's really nothing he can't do. And I thought, you know, that stretch in the third that everybody's referring to, I thought his defense in that stretch, just his presence out there. And then I thought Kaysen really got it going, defensively especially. He obviously had a good offensive night as well, but on the defensive end, he was amped up during that stretch, and that's really what turned the game for us. As we were stringing together stops, it was putting us out on the break. Those guys did a great job.
Coach, in terms of combinations of playing Chet and Isaiah, obviously those are the final piece of that defensive puzzle, but how important has the rim protection been all year, just being able to spark your transition and just being that final piece of what you guys try to do?
Yeah, I mean, they're not only great rim protectors, they're really versatile defenders that do a lot of things for us. When they're out there together, it's incredibly impactful. I'd throw Jay Will in there. You know, he's about as disciplined, as intelligent, and as physical as there is. I mean, he's taken however many charges already in the series. You know, he's in the middle of everything too. And those three guys, they just bring a great blend of all the things I just said. You know, it's huge for our defense, and they were huge tonight.
Mark, what have you just made of Shea's series so far through 2 games? I know the foul trouble might have affected his rhythm tonight, but how the Lakers are defending him and how he's responding to that.
Well, how he's responding is how he always responds, which is nothing bothers the guy. He's pretty unflappable, and he understands the nature of these series. You know, these series, it's you know, quality opponents that are capable of executing a lot of different things. He's the centerpiece of game plans. You know, they're doubling him about as aggressively as we've seen, and as consistently as we've seen. And he just continues to find a blend of his aggression, getting off early, and empowering his teammates, and the way that he's played. You know, even in game 1, with the way that he's moving it out of there, that has some effect on their ability to go out there and play the way they did when he was in foul trouble. You know, he deserves some credit for that, with the way that he's empowered the group despite his gravity, you know, as a MVP caliber player. So, you know, that's how I'd grade him out.
And what you see on the play with